So I've acquired this Bachmann V2, which, as you can see, the valve gear on this side is rather knackered. And the idea is we're going to remove the cylinders, remove the valve gear, remove the front bogie, and I need this 062 section of the chassis. I need it because I bought this N2 body and chassis on eBay a while ago, and the chassis, whilst it has ability to get a motor in it, and it's got I've since bought the wheels for it to fit, it might be a quicker route for me to actually get a pre-made chassis to fit inside that body shell. So today we're going to see if we can get this 262 chassis to fit into an 062 chassis. I have already started, but the rear bogie comes off quite easily. The front bogie will lift away, but I need to take the keeper plate off. So I've already taken the screws out. It unclips at the front and the back, and as you can see, I've already had a go at getting the valve gear off one side once the cylinders are removed. So here we have the bare chassis, and here we have the basic wheels. I've got to pull this pin out in order to release the valve gear. So essentially we're down to an 06 chassis, which if I put the trailing wheel on becomes an 062. The front bogie is held on with like a peg almost that goes through this hole. I'm just going to unsolder these tags to release these contact wires so that it can be removed completely. So let's just check if it runs. Forward seems quite good. Reverse seems quite well. So next bit is dramatic, chassis change. In order for this to fit, I've got to cut the front end of this chassis block off here, complete with this split chassis attachment. The old cylinder mounts will also have to be removed, and the bottom keeper plate that clips on here actually is too long for the chassis entirely. The body finishes about where my screwdriver is, so this will need removing. This bit above it will need slimming down so it fits under the front foot plate, and as I said, this lump will need chopping off so that the chassis will fit inside the smoke box. The motor, that all fits quite well. It'll fit quite well at this end, and at this end again, unfortunately, this body mount here is going to have to be removed because I should probably cut that off there, because although it will fit inside this body shell at the top here, someone's fitted a brass block, and I'm not sure how to get that brass block out at the moment, and I don't know whether it's worth trying to get that black block out, but I'm going to leave this bit on for now because it may be more trouble than it's worth to try and remove it, and this slot here might actually be quite a good mount point. But again, I've got to be very careful because of course I have a metal body shell being fitted to a split chassis, which perhaps isn't the cleverest of ideas. So I'm actually finding my junior hacksaw is cutting this better than my angle grinder, but essentially I've lost the cylinders and the extra material off the front of the chassis. So here we have the chassis basically cut so that the body will now sit on, the wheels line up. I've just got to adjust the clearances, but essentially the chassis will now fit. You can see the end of the chassis had quite a bit chopped off it. Cylinders are gone. I've had to drill a new chassis split hole. I've dispensed with the one at the rear. I'm going to put some plastic card spacers in between the two. It's still got this central one which will hold it together, and I'm hoping that will be more than enough. And I've also had to lose the front end of the keeper plate. No longer is it a V2. So I have a kit of parts, the wheels and motor and bits, the chassis, the body, and the bits I've removed and probably shan't use again. So let's see if we can get a chassis assembled. Let's see if it works. So straight on the track. Oh, forward and reverse. That looks good. Right, let's see if we can get this to fit under the body shell. I suspect that our extended coupling pins will still foul the body shell, but we'll have to see. Sadly, the extended pins here are fouling the footboard, but you can see it will run. Got to make the chassis connect to the body, which is going to be tricky, being a split chassis and a metal body, but basically we're there. So here's the body mounted on the chassis, and this is what it started life as. So a V3 can fit an N2.